The first 48 hours of the Echo Ridge case produced more contradictions than clues. The father's statement conflicted with every physical trace the team recovered. He claimed they parked at the overlook, argued, and that his daughter slipped while stepping backward. Yet the tire marks told another story. The vehicle had been reversed up the road after the alleged fall, leaving fresh impressions in wet gravel. That meant one of two things. Either he left the scene, or someone else arrived after the fall. Detective Mira Lawson cataloged everything: timestamps, soil samples, the direction of the wind. Her notes were clinical, but her questions were personal. Detective Mira Lawson had been in homicide for 15 years. Her record was clean: commendations, internal awards, a reputation for precision and restraint. But among colleagues, there was another story.
You think she knows?
Maybe. Detective
Shh, keep it down.
2 years before the Echo Ridge case, she'd been placed on leave after evidence went missing from an internal file, a file connected to a fatal hit-and-run involving her younger brother. The department called it a clerical lapse. She called it a system error. The truth lay somewhere in between. When Lawson returned to duty, she wasn't reassigned to homicide. She requested it. Cases like the Cliffside incident were the reason she came back. Cold, uncertain, built on gaps and contradictions, the kind that allowed her to bury one story beneath another. In her case log, she wrote a single line of intent: "If I can't prove what happened then, I'll prove what didn't happen now." That sentence marked the beginning of her pursuit, and the beginning of a quiet unraveling. The stakes weren't written in headlines or court documents. They were buried in what she refused to admit. She wasn't chasing redemption. She was chasing control. Because for Lawson, every missing person was a ledger of unfinished guilt. Lily Cole's disappearance was supposed to be procedural, a simple chain of custody, a set of facts to be assembled into order. But the deeper she looked, the more the file began to reflect her own life. A father trying to rewrite time, a daughter reaching out from silence, and a timeline that didn't want to fit. The truth wasn't just evidence anymore, it was currency. Someone's freedom depended on it, someone's reputation was collapsing under it, and somewhere in between, a detective who had once falsified timestamps on a video record was now asked to prove that another recording had been tampered with. It wasn't the case that frightened her, it was what the case remembered about her. Every frame she watched, every line of corrupted footage from the recovered dash camera, seemed to whisper the same question she had spent years avoiding. How far would you go to protect the Versio? And of yourself that people still trust. For David Cole, the question meant survival. For Mira Lawson, it meant atonement. And for the investigation itself, it meant there could no longer be a clear line between witness and suspect. Victim and investigator, everyone involved was lying. The only difference was why. Case file number 092. Status: active investigation. Compiled August 2023. Subject of inquiry: Detective Mira Lawson. Internal review pending. The case had stopped being about Lily's fall. It had become a question of who fell first, the daughter or the detective. The first inconsistency came from the phone. The recovered device had been factory reset at 3:02 a.m. to 25 minutes after the time David Cole claimed to have gone for help. Data retrieval showed a deleted text message sent from Lily's number hours before: "If I don't come back, tell them to check the ridge." It had never been delivered. The signal dropped halfway through transmission. By day 3, new footage surfaced. Trail camera video captured by a wildlife sensor half a mile east of the overlook. The image quality was poor, blurred by mist, but the timestamp matched the window of Lily's disappearance. The figure that appeared in the frame wore a light jacket, and carried what appeared to be a flashlight. The stride, the height, consistent with a teenage girl, but to details unsettled Lawson. The first, the figure was walking away from the cliff, not toward it. The second, 20 seconds later, another silhouette appeared, taller, slower, holding something metallic in one hand. The footage cut off at 2:36 a.m. 1 minute later, the dashcam from David Cole's car went dark. Lawson requested a forensic analysis of both devices. The digital team returned with an encrypted fragment, a file overwritten, but not erased. It contained a short audio clip, whined, footsteps. Then a voice, faint, panicked, "Dad, please." The authenticity was uncertain. The metadata had been altered, but the sound matched Lily's voice print from earlier recordings. Lawson didn't include the clip in her first report. She kept it on a private drive under the tag unverified, pending confirmation. The next morning, a new problem emerged. David Cole's bank records showed a withdrawal the night before the disappearance, $10,000 in cash, removed from a joint account in his daughter's name. The funds were never recovered. That transaction raised motive. The missing body raised doubt. The district attorney pressed for a charge. Lawson resisted. She'd seen cases like this collapse before, evidence built on assumption, absence mistaken for proof. Still, the pressure mounted. The family, the press, the command chain all demanded closure. The father's story was breaking, and Lawson was expected to finish it. On the 8th day, she conducted the formal interrogation. David Cole entered the room calm, composed, but his eyes never left the table. When shown the recovered footage, he didn't flinch. When asked about the voice on the audio, he said nothing for 7 full seconds before answering. "I already told you what happened. You just don't want to believe me." The report from that session would later become evidence itself, not of guilt, but of something harder to define, intent. Lawson wrote in her notes, "He's not afraid of being caught. He's afraid of being forgotten." Meanwhile, forensic imaging revealed something everyone else had missed. On the shattered foam casing recovered near the cliff, a partial fingerprint appeared beneath a layer of compacted dust. It didn't match Lily's. It didn't match David's. The print was faint, incomplete, but it belonged to a woman. And that was when the case changed direction. The department believed it was another red herring, contamination from a search responder. But Lawson wasn't convinced. The fragment of ridged dust embedded in the print was found nowhere else at the site, meaning the object had been moved after impact. Someone had been there after the fall. Someone who shouldn't have been. Case file number 09 to update. Secondary subject identified and verified contact at 2:36 a.m. Analysis in progress. From that moment, the investigation ceased to be about proof. It became about what each person was willing to erase. If the evidence tells one story and the truth tells another, which one do you protect? The next file may have the answer or another lie. Subscribe before the next timestamp appears.